It's time to talk about the very worst comic books of the week. And we had plenty of candidates to hit on this show this week, but there was one that just really rises above the rest. Teen Titans Academy number 15, the end of Tim Sheridan's run. But we're also going to hit The Punisher, which took a very strange turn in the third issue. And here to talk with me about that is the marvelous story of the X-Men aficionado, Doc himself. How you doing, Doc?
I don't think it was a very strange turn on Punisher. You know why? Because I called this when we reviewed Punisher number 2.
Are you ready to quit comic books? That's the big question. I'm trying to kill your love of comic books one terrible comic book at a time. Have I succeeded?
No. The X Office is doing a better job of that than you are. I know what I'm getting into whenever I signed on to this fucking show.
All right. Well, let's get into Teen Titans Academy number 15. Tim Sheridan, Tom Denerick, something like that. We have come to the end of the road for Tim Sheridan's Teen Titans Academy, which has pretty much been garbage from the very first issue to the very last issue.
This was absolutely oh shit, I have all kinds of plots still going on. I need to wrap them all up right now because none of these characters are ever going to be seen again. Oh, and also I need to do a gratuitous young George Perez cameo in this as some character's dad, I guess.
Uncle Jorge. That was a really weird scene.
Yeah.
Because they're talking and it just comes out of nowhere. This young guy, I guess he turned into a bat and he's got wings now and he's got a secret. And Uncle Jorge goes, hey, I know about your secret. And the guy's like, oh, that I'm queer? I thought everyone knew that I was queer. And Uncle Jorge is like, no, it's not that you're queer. I knew you were queer, but your grandfather was queer too. So this is really cool.
Soon as he said, because I'm queer, I'm like, oh, I know exactly where this scene's going because it's so fucking predictable. But his real big secret was that he had wings. Yippee fucking A, I guess.
He's a human bat, and Uncle Jorge is just, he's got to see it because it's going to look mesmerizing or whatever. So that part happens, whatever. That really sucked. Shazam is up on Apocalypse, and there's been a rescue mission from the students in Teen Titans Academy. They weren't supposed to go up there. Nothing's going well, and then they win somehow.
The guy in the generic costume shoots
Omega beams, maybe.
They might be Omega beams out of his eyes, and it zooms around things to blow through a door, and then they teleport away. But the angel guy fixes it because apparently everyone here can fucking teleport.
Listen, the quilt person is a gender fluid quilt at that, and the quilt person's name is Stitch.
Yeah, quilt person. I don't give a shit what this character's name is. They can teleport apparently because quilts can teleport, I guess. But they just always end up in random places. So the angel guy
redirected the teleportation.
Yeah, even though the angel guy could have just teleported them accurately in the first place.
Which he does at the end.
Yeah,
doesn't make a whole lot of sense. People probably come to this comic book for the actual Teen Titans, Dick Grayson, Starfire, Raven, Beast Boy, Cyborg, all those kind of characters. And we do get them sprinkled in here and there, but it's even worse than the actual story. And we get Dick Grayson and Starfire talking around the fact that they used to be in a relationship and kind of looking at each other, but doing nothing about it.
Just kind of like, hey, we used to date. Yeah, we all know.
Something I think a lot of people were hoping that you would address in the comic book, although it's pretty clear that Dick Grayson is dating Barbara Gordon in Nightwing, so that would have been strange.
Let's be honest, it's a Tim Sheridan comic. Having two...
you can say heterosexual.
Two heterosexuals, unfucking acceptable. Do you have to have Cyborg and Beast Boy get merged into one person because they love each other so much?
I don't think that's what happened, but that was really, really stupid. So they finally converged the two characters, which we saw in Future State, and they just undo it in this issue by happenstance. It's like Raven's like, I'm going to use an illusion, and people are going to see you two not hooked together as one person. And they're like, oh, we're fixed now. And it's like, well, that was pretty convenient.
Except for they're not, though. Like, they're still actually together. It's just an illusion. And it's really
how can
weird.
Raven do an illusion just constantly?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's just, we're undoing this thing that, honestly, it's Tim Sheridan. Expecting a plot from Tim Sheridan to actually makes sense. Honestly, dude, you have way too high of expectations.
Well, I don't expect that. I've definitely read more Tim Sheridan than you have since he writes primarily for DC, and he's been awful since the very beginning. At the very end, we do get to see Starfire addressing the entire class and welcoming in the next class of Teen Titans Academy, and there's a speech. And somehow, for a comic book that had to like go really fast and truncate everything, we got 4 full pages of just different angles of the new building with like 3 words that she said or something. It was like, oh, we found space for filler. Like, how did this happen?
It's this comic's random speech. It's just more speechifying at the end to validate everyone there, because that's what comics do now. You need to have
Starfire. It can't be Nightwing, the person that everyone looks to as the actual leader of the Titans.
Yes,
it's got to be the weird girl that people find off-putting because she doesn't really know how to relate to humans all the time.
Yeah, exactly. They just wasted a bunch of filler at the end just to show us a building that's just the exact same building, but bigger.
Well, that's what they tell you, but we know that this isn't going to last because it gets burned down in Dark Crisis. We've already seen the cover.
Yeah. So
what was the point?
Well, they
stupid. Everything about this is stupid. This comic book absolutely sucked. I'll give it. This is difficult. I'll give it 1.5 stars, maybe.
I'll give it a 0.5 star because it said the end at the end, and that means it's over, and we don't have to deal with. There will not be a Teen Titans Academy 16 from Tim Sheridan.
No, we will never meet the new class. So that's a good thing. This comic book absolutely blew. It's fitting because the entire series was just awful. Now let's move over to Marvel Comics and something a little bit early on in its run. Punisher number 3, Jason Aaron, Jesus Saez. I really lauded the very first issue. The second issue, we get this revelation that Frank Castle has been a sociopath since he was a small child, and he's already murdered a man, and we kind of get the story behind that here.
Jason Aaron doing what Jason Aaron always does, which is come in, give you a first issue that's interesting and that piques your interest. Right before he fundamentally alters everything about the foundation of the character and ruins them permanently.
And Frank Castle is on top of a building. He's got what appears to be a BB gun. He's shooting some bottles and whatnot. On the streets below, there's this man. Apparently, he's a made man. He's part of the mafia or something. And he just like monkey stomps and just kills this couple in front of everyone, and no one stops him.
Yep.
And Frank Castle can't get over it. He's like hearing the sounds of what happened in his head. He can't sleep or whatever. And he's obsessed with what happened. His parents tell him not to do anything about it. But he is Frank Castle, and he shall not be denied, because these are the origins of the Punisher himself. And he came up with a plan on how he's going to murder this guy. And he basically does a Kevin McAllister prank murder from Home Alone. And he's got like a little diagram and everything on how he's going to burn the guy to death and everything.
And apparently he, in the era before the internet, figured out how to make napalm.
It was in a World War II magazine, Doc.
Okay, yeah, sure. He's still using crayons, yet he's also making napalm.
I think it was supposed to be funny, but, I guess it was his first kill, and he has to tell the hate or whatever. I don't know. This part was a little bit off-putting. Obviously, it wasn't the entire comic book. Basically, this is just, Frank Castle presiding over the head and then worshiping him as the fist of the beast or something like that. And then we find out that his wife, who they had brought back, is having some issues. She has remembered her children, and she thinks Frank and her left them at the park, obviously where they died.
They give her a sedative, but he stays with her rather than going on this attack against Ares, who we saw at the end of last issue, because, I guess it's the unintended consequences of bringing a woman that's been dead for like 15 years back to life. She has a little bit of mental illness here.
Seems to have a little trauma.
Confusion, and definitely freaks out about stuff. Last issue, they were talking about the kids are coming home soon. I guess this is supposed to be some sort of progression on her part, with her remembering more, and I guarantee eventually she'll remember them dying. and wondering why Frank made the deal to bring them back.
What this is really doing is giving Frank motivation to go along with this priestess, because she says the beast is the one that brought your wife back, and you need to appease the beast and make him happy if you want to bring your kids back too.
Because if he brings the kids back, then his wife will stop freaking out.
Until she remembers that they were murdered.
Yeah, until she remembers that they were murdered, until the kids remember that they were murdered, and then it's all going to go fucking tits up.
We also see this moment where these two ninjas are brought before Frank because he's the fist of the beast, and one of them cut another ninja's tongue out for talking back to him and having sass mouth. He accidentally murdered him. So that ninja that died's brother killed the other one's brother, and since they both killed people they weren't supposed to, without Frank Castle giving the order, he decides to murder them both.
And his logic on this is because they're murderers. And like the lady even brings it up, that high priestess lady brings it up. They're all murderers in that room. Every single one of them.
And Frank's the king of murderers.
Yeah, he's the king of them. In order to not recognize his own fucking hypocrisy here of teaming up with them, nobody kills anybody unless I give the direction.
Well, ain't nobody killing Aaron. He went through those dickheads like a knife through butter. You know what I mean?
I don't understand why they think that Punisher is actually a one-on-one like challenge to Ares. Ares couldn't die until the Sentry ripped him in half during, I don't remember if it was Secret Invasion or Siege or one of those events back, 10, 15 years ago. Punisher is not a challenge for Ares one-on-one. Even beast-powered Punisher isn't.
You're overthinking it. This comic book isn't worth that much thought. It's not very good. It's a good start. Punisher #1 I thought was fantastic. 2 definitely went down a step, and 3 definitely went down another step. Jason Aaron has officially lost the plot in Punisher #3. Frank Castle was Kevin McAllister wearing a Captain America mask, killing people as a kid. Absolutely ridiculous. Whatever, man. I might keep reading it because I think it's a mini series, but this is not very good.
Look, at what point is everybody going to recognize that this is all Jason Aaron does? He just takes toys and breaks them.
As bad as Jason Aaron is on Punisher, Tim Sheridan on Teen Titans Academy was far worse. In fact, Joe and I reviewed the very first issue. We talked about how Tim Sheridan was already going off the rails on this one, how it wasn't a very good comic book. Definitely check this out, and you can see Teen Titans Academy was doomed from the day they signed Tim Sheridan as the writer.